everyone. I'm Saleha, and this is Chai, Chat, and Community. Tonight, we are talking about the importance of swimming and why all of us should know how to be safe around water. It's nearly summer and it's time to go to the beach. Do you enjoy being in the water? I do, and will choose water over mountains any day. But for me, a visit to the beach is just dipping my toes, mostly because I don't know swimming, and that makes me paranoid of the water. And this is one of the reasons why I taught my girls swimming, ensured that they went into the water when they were only 6 months old. Did you know nationally during summer of 2023-24, 99 people drowned between 1st December 2023 and 29 February 2024. This is a 10% increase from the previous summer and 5% higher than the 5 year average. In Victoria, 54 people died during this period. The drowning rate was 79 per 100,000 people, which is 1% increase from the previous 10 years. With summer months upon us, the beach and the pool are an instant attraction for many of us. Tonight, we chat about why swimming is an important life skill in Australia, no matter how old or young you are. But before I introduce you to my very special guest, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're meeting tonight, and I pay my respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging. Thank you for joining me, Harpreet. Dr. Harpreet Singh Kandra. Thank you.
Thank you, Saleha Singh, for having me. And I would also like to begin with an acknowledgement of the traditional custodians of all the lands we come on and we are listening this beautiful show. And I would also like to acknowledge the viewers and the listeners of Radio Bowl, Chai Chat and Community and your YouTube subscribers.
Thank you. So I know what you do, but our listeners don't. So do you want to tell us something about yourself? Because whatever I say will not do justice.
Um, Saleha ji, thanks once again for the opportunity. I'm an academic at Federation University, did a PhD in water resources, and I have been teaching for last about 11 years at the university. But I think my passion lies in the community, working for the community and being a community representative, and that's how I get involved with solving some problems. I think if all of us start solving some problems, the world will become a better place automatically. And we have to find time to understand a problem and solve a problem. And the water safety that we are going to talk about is one of the important problems that we should not overlook.
So why? What is your PhD in?
My
Water
PhD
safety.
was more in the area of water resources, how to capture storm water, treat storm water, so that we can start using storm water. That rather than going into expensive options like desalinating the seawater and affecting the ecology of the oceans and the seas, I am more of a person who thinks about that a waste is not a waste. A waste is a resource out of place, and if somehow we can find a good use for that so-called waste, we can actually do a lot good to the environment and to the sustainability aspects.
And sustainability is such an important subject, isn't it?
Certainly, it's an emerging subject. It's changing every day. Every time we can find a use for a resource, I think it gets better. But again, if you think from a cost of living perspective, if everyone starts to waste less and reuse something that is being wasted, I think the cost of living can come down by 10% easily. And often, we keep saying that the cost of living has gone up by 10 to 20%. I think just by saving our basic resources like electricity, gas,
Absolutely.
etc., we can actually bring it down by 10% very, very, very easily.
Yeah. Thank you. Even before we started with the questions, there is a question for you. So I will show it and I will read it out. Thank you, Facebook user, because I don't have your name. Back in our motherland, the focus is always more on a child's academic with little time for extracurricular activities. How can we change this mindset?
Um, I think it's a very, very good starting question
Yep,
because it lays the foundation of why should we even learn swimming. Now, I believe while you are in Rome, do as the Romans do. And with
absolutely.
India, which has over 11,700 beaches, if you really want to enjoy the nature, if you really want to create value out of a holiday that you are going on, where you spend 200 to $50 a night, you should get into the pool and enjoy the pool, and you should get into the beaches and enjoy the water of the beaches. But if we are just there to click a picture and not enjoy that experience, I think we are missing big time. So I've been asked this question: why is that people from Southeast Asia do not know swimming? And my answer is, if every Indian starts learning swimming and doing swimming, India will run out of water, because India is a very water stressed country. The same thing applies to Pakistan, the same thing applies to China, the same thing applies to Africa. The water resources there, per person resources, are very less. So it's not integrated into the curriculum of most of these countries. Having said that, as an academic, I feel what we learn in a university, or what we learn in a school, is the basic principles of something. But the real application of those principles is when we get into the industry and when we get on the grassroots and start working and implementing things. I teach systems thinking, but when you really see how systems thinking is applied, it's actually applied on the ground to solve a simple problem. When you buy a product online, you try to compare several things to make sure that you are buying the right thing, and that's system thinking. And no university, no curriculum teaches you that, but you do that on a daily basis. So in the same way, I think swimming is a very, very vital skill, which we should learn while we are in Australia, irrespective of the fact that how old we are, whether we have learned this in India or not, or wherever we come from. But on top of that, and that's why we do not call our program as water safety program. We are calling our program as a safely engaging with water program, where we want people to think about having fun when they are in water, having fun when they are around water, understanding that water is an excellent therapy. So when you work from Monday to Friday, 5 days a week, maybe 35, 40 hours, I think if you go to a pool, relax there for an hour or so, it's an excellent water therapy. Again, it's a good exercise. And again, if you really want to enjoy your vacation with your children and let your children who know swimming enjoy their break while they're in a pool, I think we need to learn swimming. So I think the curriculum may be missing that, but again, it's a very, very important life significant life skill that we need to have. And that's why I have been advocating for safely engaging with water and learning how to handle water, deal with water, and get into the pool and learn it.
Thank you, Harpreet. We have another question from Chris Bhadra. So, Dr. Kandra, how can we connect sustainability with water conservation?
Um, Chris, a very good question. I personally feel at times when we talk about water safety, and most of the programs that have talked about water safety, they have essentially taught about water safety in a classroom kind of environment. But the moment you get into a pool, your connection with water changes. I mean, if you keep looking at the beautiful mountains on your television screen or on your computer screen, you can't develop that kind of connection. So I feel that when you talk about getting into the pool and learning swimming, you are creating a bond between yourself and water and nature. But again, I think when you start thinking about how can I save water so that everyone can have access to water, how can I contaminate water to the minimum thing, when I start thinking about how can I reuse water, and I teach this all the time at the university. Often, we consume about 150 liters of water, but we only need about 20 liters of good quality water. The other 130 liters of water that we need for our daily use per person per day can be recycled water, simply because we do not need very good quality water to flush out the poo. We do not need very good quality water to wash our clothes, and we can use recycled water. And all of these elements are water conservation elements. And I think when you start getting into the water, when you start uh, establishing a bond with water, you start feeling uh, the significance to enjoy water. The same thing happens if you are in a polluted place, and the moment you start struggling to breathe in a polluted environment, you start feeling the significance of fresh clean air. And in a similar way, I think, water conservation and safely engaging in water have some connection with each other.
Thank you. Chris, I can see your name. I'm just going to hold on for 5 minutes before I ask your next question. So, Harpreet, you've talked about why swimming is important. What I want to know is, how do you convince people, someone like me? I know how important it is to learn swimming. And, I live literally across the swimming pool. My council swimming pool is across. I mean, I just have to cross the road and it's there. And yet, in 20 years, I have not learned swimming. I just cannot do it. So I'm sure there are many, many people like me who need a lot of convincing. So I know it's important, as do so many parents, and do so many youngsters. And every, summer comes, and I mean, you've heard the horror stories of, you know, people going to the beach, not being able to control the current and being swept away and died. So how do you convince people like me that, you need to learn swimming? And as I said, age shouldn't be a factor. You can be 3 months old. My grandson went into the pool when he was 3 months old. My daughters went into the pool in Delhi when they were 6 months old. And but I haven't been able to go to the pool. I would take them to the pool. I would take my girls to the pool, but I would not get into the water.
A very good point, Sleha. I'm not a marketing person. I'm an academic. I'm a
Of
researcher.
course.
So my marketing skills are not that good, but I just speak from my heart. So if I can convince you to learn swimming, I think it will be a big accomplishment for me in person.
Okay.
But let's try that. The first thing I must tell you is, when I was very young, I got drowned, and my mother jumped into the the sarovar in a gurdwara to help me out, and she did not know swimming, and she also was almost drowned. And then someone from somewhere came and pulled us out, and then disappeared all of a sudden. And my dad could not even have an opportunity to say thanks to that person. Now, that has left a deep phobia in my mind about water. Even though I'm a water engineer, even though I teach water resources, I have that phobia. But when I heard stories of people drowning, especially our, international students, I thought I have to do something. And I thought, before I start preaching, I think I need to get into the pool and give it a shot, give it a try to learn swimming. So there is one category of people who are having some water phobia, and I think we need to motivate them and ask them to just give it a shot. Let's try it. I have not become a good swimmer. I'm still struggling, I must acknowledge that, but I'm still giving my best to learn swimming. But in the process, there are 32 other people who have learned swimming because of the program that I initiated, and there are another 70 people who are learning swimming. So the numbers are growing. Now, there are some people who say that they don't have time to learn swimming, and we go and tell them that, okay, you may not have time. How about a weekend? Go and learn there for 30 minutes. How about a weekday evening? But try to see the fun part of it. Try to see that when you are out with your family on a vacation, the kids are in the pool. You don't want to get into the pool because you are scared, and you keep yelling at your kids and requesting them to come out of the pool because you don't want them to be drowned, because you have a phobia, and you don't know swimming. But if you really want to have quality time with your family, it is an amazing thing to do. And now, when my wife knows swimming, my daughter knows swimming, even though I don't know swimming, they pull me to the pool. And I think we do spend a good 1 hour every week in the pool, and we enjoy that time of togetherness when the phones are away, because I would not like to take my phone into a pool and damage it, even though the phone companies might say that my phone is
It's
waterproof.
waterproof. Yep.
uh,
Yep.
I will not risk that. But that 1 hour of togetherness in a pool is something that everyone will start enjoying once they do that. The other thing is, this world is about change management. The way this world is growing, the way technologies are changing, the way everything is changing, I think we should be prepared for a change, and we should not be shy and scared of trying a new thing, acquiring a new skill. And that's where again I feel in person that let's give it a shot. In a best case scenario, you will end up being a swimmer. In a excellent scenario, you might get an Olympic medal for Australia. But in a worst case scenario, you may not learn swimming, but you have given it a shot. You have challenged yourself. But in the process, you will understand what to do and what not to do when you are in water. And that will make you more vigilant when you are on a travel, when you are on a beach, and you might help the community by being a silent observer, but again by knowing what to do in case someone is drowning. So I think the key idea, the key aim of our program is to make drownings a history, and all of us can contribute in more than one way. I think the starting and the first step is to challenge our phobias, find the time to learn swimming. There is another set of people who say that the cost of the swimming is quite high at about $30 a 30-minute lesson. But we have actually created a program which is called a 1:1:1 contribution model, where we are saying that for a 10 lesson program, which will cost you about $300, you have to pay only $100. The other $100 will come from the swim center, which will subsidize the cost of swimming. And the other $100 towards your 10 lessons will be paid by a pool of money which has been created by the officer Gurdwara Sri Guru Nanak Darbar, along with the local businesses and all. And we have about $16,100 in our pool, which we are happy to share with those people who want to learn swimming. Now, so we have taken care of
So
the
this
cost
is
to some
only for
extent.
people who live in Officer.
No, no,
This is
this is for
obviously
people anywhere in Australia. We are focusing more on Victoria. Currently, people in Cardinia are learning swimming. People in KC are learning swimming. Some people in Dandenong are learning swimming, and some people are also learning swimming in Caroline Springs. Um,
yeah.
but the
Okay.
key thing is we have taken care of the cost. We are motivating you to challenge your phobias. We are asking you to think about change management. We are telling you that the way the world is changing, we will have to acquire more skills. And if you acquire a skill like learning swimming by challenging yourself, you will be ready and prepared to learn more things as the world changes and becomes easier or difficult, whatever it is.
Okay. I have two
So have i
questions.
have
Yes,
i
you have.
have I
Yes.
been able to convince you, and hope we will see you in the pool across the road
Maybe,
soon?
maybe. But before that, we have two questions. So one is from Chris. She wants to know, a lot of migrants and vacationers enter Australian waters and love taking selfies, even when the waves are choppy. We know that. How can we raise more awareness on safety among tourists and new migrants? And I would also talk about international students here because when they come, and if you come from South Asian countries, which is where we are trying to educate South Asian uh, students, tourists, new migrants, that this is something that you need to be very careful about. The Australian waters, and it may look calm, but it is not always calm.
So there are the program that we are offering is not a in the pool program only. At the end of the program, we will have a 1 hour session with Life Saving Victoria, which will tell us what to do and what not to do, including providing us guidance on how to use several apps to get the right information about when to go to a particular beach, etc. So that is building some additional skills on knowing what to do and what not to do. That is one thing. We are also speaking with universities where in the O week or the orientation week we are saying
Yeah,
that
I was going to ask you
spend
that. Yes.
let's
Are
spend
you
maybe
speaking to? Yeah.
2 hours and have some understanding of how water is different in Australia compared to other parts of the world, how the currents are different, how the velocity of water is different, what to do and what not to do. So there are these things that we are slowly taking into action in the next few months. And we are also seeking some request from the state and the federal government to invest in something like this. And again,
What about tourists, Harpreet? What about tourists?
um,
Because
it,
we've had death of tourists also. Because again, if you're coming in summer, say from November, not well, November to till March, this is crazy. And even in winters, I mean, people are going into the water. So can we not do
Saleha,
something for tourists?
there are a couple of things that can be done. There could be a page of instructions that can be created by community organizations along with the government. Any international tourists, the moment they land at the airports, we can provide them a list of such guidelines. On top of that, I am also advocating that when you check in into a hotel, the hotel should give you a leaflet with a list of things that you should enjoy while you are close to where you are living. It could have a few things ticked off as green, saying these are things that you should do, they are safe to do. But there could also be things in red saying, you need to be cautious about some of these things that you are doing. And that's another way for tourists to understand. Now, even if as a domestic traveler, I go to New South Wales and stay in a hotel and I don't know much about the adjoining beaches there, if a hotel at a check-in gives me this informatory document, I think it will be very vital. And again, it will be able to create the impact. So these are some of these things that have not been done. I've been personally advocating for these things. And we just started this program, Safely Engaging with Water program, in early August. So I
So
think
it's very
there are
new.
small
Yes.
steps. Yeah, it's very new. We have made a good progress, but these all of these things are all on our radar, and we will be advocating for them.
Okay. Now, Chris, I hope that answers your question. Um, I can see your name. I know you can't, but I can see it. Another question for you, Harpreet. What
What is
positive change
positive
management, yep, when
when
it
it
comes to
comes to
water
water
conservation?
conservation and sustainability? See, I would say that what is change management? Change management is trying to change your habits. There is a very good proverb which, if I remember correctly, used to say, habit is a cable. We weave a thread of it every day and then we cannot break it. Now, when you talk about change management, you are basically trying to break that habit. It takes a bit of time, it takes a bit of effort, but if your understanding is firm, if your foundation is strong, you can break that habit easily. Now, when it comes to water conservation, when it comes to environmental sustainability, we need to understand that the number of people living on Earth has increased massively in the last 50 years. The amount of resources that we have has reduced. The quality of those resources has been going down, and we also have to think about our future generations. What are we leaving for them? Now, parents would leave a big inheritance for for their kids when they go away, but if they are leaving behind a polluted waterway, a polluted air, a polluted land, then again their kids will not have that quality of life. One of the key reasons that I have relocated from India to Australia, and a lot of my friends would have done that, and you may have done that if you have relocated to Australia, is the quality of life that we cherish here, we enjoy here. So it's our utmost responsibility to understand that we have to conserve and preserve that quality of life. And all of that will require some change management. And if you start thinking about changing your lifestyle, obviously you will be thinking about water conservation. and you will be thinking about sustainability. And once you start doing that water conservation and sustainability practices, obviously you will start, looking about how to conserve your how to conserve or reduce your electricity energy footprint, how to reduce your waste footprint, how to improve the waste segregation in your house, how to buy something that has been prepared out of some biodegradable stuff, etc. And all of this is contributions to uh, conservation and sustainability.
Thank you. I'm not getting to ask any questions because there's another one. Thank you so much for everyone who are asking question. And yep. So, is there any way we can raise awareness on reducing or adding waste garbage into our water resources? That is a good one.
Now, it's a good
Include
question. It's not directly linked to the safely
yes,
engaging with water program, but if you go to a pool and if you in a pool start putting few things into the pool, the swimmers will start coming out of it because they would not
yes,
like to swim in a pool with any garbage in it. And the moment they decide that they will understand the significance of garbage getting into our water bodies and water sources, and that will help them think about the way they litter and all. So essentially, I think there's a lot of information there. We don't need to reinvent the information, but the only thing is we need to somehow make people sit somewhere for 15 to 30 minutes and understand how small um, acts done by them out of ignorance or poor habits can have a big impact in future. um, and I think once they realize the significance of that, I'm sure things will get better. And another excellent example is when we talk about climate change, and I have done some work in this space. I find a lot of our multicultural communities do not understand climate change. A lot of
they don't
moms and
want to
dads
believe it. Yes,
uh,
yes.
a lot of moms and dads don't understand climate change simply because they can't relate and understand something that might happen in 30 or 50 years from now. But if you sit with them for 30 minutes and if you tell them how their acts today can affect the lives of their kids in 30 to 50 years, they will start paying attention. And the moment you start telling them just by simple acts, they can actually start saving money, which will be good for everyone. It's a win-win situation. Then obviously they start connecting with it. So it's all about communication, but I think it's also about getting people to talk about it, to discuss about it.
Are you ready for another question?
Yes, please.
Okay, Chris is on a roll. How sustainable is our planet at present when it comes to using our renewable sources for the next generation? I think you just answered that, but
I think I will be very brief on this, Chris. I would just say that I'm an optimistic person. I would not say that we are on a path that we cannot come back, but certainly if we follow the business as usual scenario, things are not looking good. And I think you would have seen debates about energy security, which became very political recently. I think we are very blessed in Australia. We have a lot of natural resources like sun and wind to capture. And if we start capturing them on our rooftop, in our backyards, start consuming green electricity, I think we will be all right. But again, when you talk about climate change in particular, it's not something that is limited by boundaries. It is something that might be happening in US could be affecting the climate of the entire world. So that's another important thing to understand, and I think it's a collective responsibility.
thank you. So, Harpreet, you started only in August and you've had tremendous results. You had a graduation ceremony 2 weeks ago. Um, how did you convince the first lot of people to go into the water? And
Uh,
there were young men and young women. Were they older men and women too?
I think the average age was about 40 for most of our participants. And interestingly, I did not have to do much of convincing. We just created an expression of interest, telling people that, let's safely engage with water, have fun, think about water therapy, and we are giving you these classes at a very subsidized rate. Come and have an experience. And you will be amazed, Leha, that um, initially I wanted to start with 5 males and 5 females who become the role models for something like this. Our swim center in Cardinia Shire Council, run by Aligned Leisure, they are amazing. um, they got an excellent response, and I think there were about 65 people who wanted to learn swimming.
Whoa.
Eventually we could get only 33 started. Out of those, sorry, 37 started, but out of those 37 who started, we found that, females were more keen to learn swimming because they felt that it's a sense of responsibility for them as the lady of the house, as the mother of the house, to be vigilant when they are on a vacation with their kids. So most of these 37 people, I think 17, about 20 of them were females, and all of them have graduated. Out of the 37 people who enrolled, 33 have finished off their 10 lessons, and some of them have now enrolled for next round of advanced lessons as well. So I think, again, we launched a similar program in KC Council, and I was told that there were about 80 people who were interested to learn swimming. But again, because of the limited resources that the council had, I think about 30 people have started swimming there as well. And a similar program has been rolled out again in Cardinia Shire Council, and again we got a good response of about 70 people, and 30 people have started swimming. So I think the uptake has been reasonably good, but again we need some grassroots connections, people in WhatsApp groups to share the message. Uh, I got a phone call from someone in New South Wales, and they wanted to run a similar program in Sydney. I said, I can't come to Sydney and convince your local leisure center. You be my brand
Yes.
ambassador there, you be the role model there, go and speak with the local center, get a few people to come and start learning swimming, and we will provide you the money, and we will convince the swim center to subsidize the cost, so that it's a win-win case for everyone.
Okay. Chris, I can see your question. I will ask Harpreet one more, and then I will ask your question. Um, so, while you've had successes, has there been any drawbacks, and what have they been?
Interestingly, I can't think of a drawback. I think the drawback has been that I have a full-time job, and and I can't dedicate the time I could dedicate onto this. And if I wish I had the time to go around to other swim centers in other locations and convince them about this program, I could knock a few doors and convince people to do that, and the uptake would have been better. The other drawback is that we are heading into a festival and a holiday season. So this term, I would have expected more people to start swimming, but since a lot of people are traveling, and
Yeah.
so are the swim instructors, we have not been able to upscale the program at a bigger level in term 4, which started, I think, in mid of November. Other than that, I think, I must say that, I'm very happy with, my initial goal was to get 10 people learn swimming, but currently I think about 100 people are learning swimming, so I think that's a big accomplishment.
Oh,
um,
huge
a-
accomplishment.
it's very good. It's massively supported by the state government. In the graduation ceremony, we had 6 parliamentarians who came and cheered up the people who have graduated. So overall, I think it has been really good, and I think we will keep learning. And I'm not shy to say that we are on a learning curve, and it will get bigger and better as we grow.
Okay. Thank you. I have two more questions, but Chris has another question for you. You spoke of climate justice. How can we as citizens take positive charge if the political hierarchy might suggest otherwise? Have you looked at that intersection as part of your ongoing advocacy?
Chris, I get a little unpopular with both sides of the politics because both sides of politics have different priorities, and again, at times the priorities of the governments are guided by several market forces. But having said that, um, I think uh, we as community volunteers, people on the grassroots, do not need to depend on government for each and everything. I think we need to become role models, role community organizations at our own end, and then start, building the momentum. I know it will happen on a slow pace. Um, it will take its own time. I can just give you an example. When I volunteer at the officer Sikh temple, which is called Gurdwara, we try to think about environment in anything that we purchase. I've also, as an academic, tried to do some community projects where we have created a calculator, which can help us understand what is the carbon footprint of what I do in my own house, or what a community center is doing. The key thing, I think, is to keep talking to each other, keep making the right networks, and then keep learning good things, better things that we can do and replicate. And that could be our contribution. But again, keep talking to our political representatives and tell them the significance of understanding um, environment, sustainability, climate change, etc. And when we go to cast our votes, I think do some homework before we go to cast our votes. As of now, I think most people who go and cast a vote do not think about environment and climate change. They just think about some very basic issues, or they just go by word of mouth and vote for someone. If you don't understand what are the priorities of your local politicians, I think you are not taking a judicious decision before you vote them, and you might end up voting for the wrong party or wrong person, which is not going to be good for anyone, especially our future generations.
Okay. Well, here's someone from your. Uh, I'm going to show this. I'm sorry I don't know your name because your name didn't come up. I reside in Sardinia. It would be an honor to meet you. Thank you for doing what you're doing for the community.
Um, it will be a pleasure to meet you. And interestingly, you are asking me this or telling me this today on a Sunday night. Tomorrow morning at the Officer Gurdwara, we are having an open week where we are celebrating the 555th birthday of Guru Nanak, the founder of the Sikh faith. You are more than welcome to send me an email, or send me a message on Facebook. Make an appointment with me, and I am happy to show you around, meet you. Any person who comes and visits us, meets us, I think it's a co-learning exercise. We are not experts of everything, but we are very keen to make connections and learn from each other, network with each other, collaborate with each other, in an effort to make the world a better place.
And that was Chris. Okay, so another thing from Chris is that could one of the tentative drawbacks would be a religious apprehension of women getting into the water? Have you faced that?
See, there are some social issues. That's why when we created the program, we said that we will have men and women learning separately. So we created a conducive environment for women to come and learn swimming with
Yep.
other females and with a female trainer, and that worked very well. Some of the females now have approached us and said that they are keen to learn again in January, and they are not very fussed about whether it will be a male trainer or a female
Yep.
trainer. But again, I'm also hearing stories from some of my graduates that those females think that they are more empowered now with an additional
Yep.
skill,
This
with
is
some more
something I was going to ask
confidence,
you. Yep. Yep.
with some more confidence in water. And again, I think there might be some religious things, but if we create the right environment, people will learn swimming. And that's again another thing, where our governments will have to invest. So in all the leisure centers, we might provide a separate area which might be covered for females who have apprehensions or who have worries that they don't want um, want
Or
to
maybe
learn in a
separate
secure
timing,
environment.
Harpreet,
Yes,
maybe
separate timing
separate
as well.
timing.
Separate timing. See, with the current layout of the swim centers, as I have seen, most of them actually have swimming pools next to each other. But I think if people in that community think that there should be a separate area for females to come in a specific time to learn, I think that can be done slowly and steadily. Yeah.
It also means an added cost, isn't it, to block one area just for women? I mean, I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah,
You know,
Saleha, very interesting question. Try to see the market that we have. I will just give you an example for Melbourne. Melbourne has a population of about 5 million people. And if
yep,
40% of those 5 million people are multicultural, we are talking about 2 million multicultural people. Let's say 40% of those 2 million people are adults who don't know swimming. We are talking about 800,000 people. Let's say that out of those 800,000 people, 80% don't know swimming. We are talking about 650,000 people who need to learn swimming. Now, when those 650,000 people learn swimming, there's a lot of money that's going to come into swim centers, into the
true.
swimming industry. And when that kind of money starts coming into the swim centers, we will have all the resources to build infrastructure. We will create a lot of local jobs. We will have a lot of people buying swims wear sorry, buying goggles and whatnot. So I think overall the swimming industry will benefit out of it, and it will pay back. But most importantly, we will end up making drowning a history.
Okay. So this question is very close to my heart, and I'm going to ask this. Do you think in future we can also think of having a separate pool space for LGBTQIA people?
I think we should have it. And you do not need to create multiple spaces. You just need to create a single space which is secured, which
And
might
separate
provide
timing.
privacies, and different activities can happen in that private
Yep.
space for different groups of users at
Yeah.
some designated times. Yes. And I think with the increase in population that is happening, we will certainly be adding spaces to our existing leisure centers. It's just that when you add those extra spaces, be mindful of this specific requirement, and that's all.
I also wonder, I mean, when you go into the pool, does it really matter what your sexuality is? People don't need to know whether you're LGBTQIA.
um
You know,
I
it
think all of these things are very tiny things that you should not be worried about. I will not be worried about. um, but if someone uh, needs a private space, they have a right to it. They should ask for it.
absolutely.
And when we are expanding our swim centers, it's just providing some additional design considerations in putting that private space. That's all. Which will not be, which is not any rocket science, I would say.
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask a couple of last questions. We said 30 minutes. It's 43 minutes, 45 seconds, Harpreet.
I'm enjoying the
Okay.
talk. Yeah.
I'm sure we must have you back again. This is really exciting talk.
Thank you.
Despite frequent accidents, current water safety initiatives remain fragmented and insufficient. What improvements would you like to see? I
Uh,
mean, personally, I would personally, before I jumped in there, so sorry for that, but personally, I would like to see more awareness and uh, education for international students and people who come in as tourists. You talked about hotels. I'm also talking about, I also think Airbnbs, because more and more people live in Airbnbs. It should be
yeah,
part of, when you get your visa, these are the 10 things that you need to be mindful of when you come to Australia.
yeah,
Don't go into a shark infested water, because you don't have oceans in the country that you live in. So you see one here, and then it is very, very scary. I mean, I get very scared. I had someone call me up who lost her partner to a drowning incident, and it was the
Yeah.
worst thing. I mean, she was crying, I was crying. I didn't know how to help her. She just wanted me to listen, and that's exactly what I did. And he international student.
Very sorry to hear about that, and my condolences to that family as well. See, we need a multi-pronged approach. Um, we need more spaces. We need tourism industry to rethink this. We need universities to come and think about this and collaborate on this. We need the governments to think about this. So there are several things that are needed. And there's no one fit solution to a
Yep.
problem. We have to tailor make the solution for different cohorts of people. Um, and and I think, I think the key thing is all of us need to become role models. Now, let's say if Saleha signs up for swimming in the next week, then obviously, her story will motivate a lot of people, and
Okay,
maybe she will attract another 20 people who will start connecting with water. I'm not saying everyone will learn swimming. I don't even know if I will learn swimming and become a reasonable swimmer because of the phobia that I have. But having said that, it will build a strong awareness in me on how to safely connect with water. And if we are safe the way we are safe on roads when we are driving, I think the number of accidents that would happen will reduce. So I think we have to start somewhere. And again, I would not say that the onus is on a particular sector of the government to do everything. I think the onus falls on each and all of us to be ready to learn a new skill, acquire a new skill, and spread the word and keep this story live as well.
thank you, Harpreet. You said you're not a marketer or a salesperson. You're convincing me to walk across the road and go and enroll myself tomorrow.
Yeah, Saleha,
Maybe when
I think all of us can be role models in several ways. And again, since there are a lot of people who respect you, who respect me, and when we say something, people see the weight of what we are saying, and that can bring in a change. A change starts on a very small level, and slowly the change
absolutely,
can become bigger and bigger and bigger and do the
absolutely,
miracles.
absolutely. Before we go, do you want to say anything else?
Um, I would
That
just urge the audience of this program to maybe contact Sleha. I can share some stories with all of you. Once the story is on Facebook, I can certainly put some links. Go to your local swim centers, tell them about this program, and if those swim centers are ready, if you can bring in 4 or 5 friends to learn swimming, I think you will enjoy it with those friends. You will make more friends and more connections. But all of us will make a small um, contribution. And I think for me, I think uh, ending drownings is a big task. It's a big ocean, but all of us can put small drops in that ocean of vision and aim that we have. And I think it's possible.
of course,
Feel free to
everything is
feel
possible.
Yeah, feel free to contact me via my email address, which Leha will put on the on the
Okay,
groups.
you want me
And
to? Yep.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can give you the email address, and we can even give you the organization's email address, which is info at sgnd, S for
I'll write it.
Singapore, G
I'll
for
I'll just write
Germany,
it. Sorry,
and yeah,
Harpreet, I'll just write it.
yeah,
Info at yes,
SGND, that's Singapore, Germany,
SGND. Yep. Yep.
uh, uh, sgnd.com.au.
Done.
And I think, let's talk and keep thinking of new and better ways to convince people. I mean, at times our kids can convince us to get into the pool, and they can prove that the quote, child is the father of man, is is correct. And that's another way that we can bring in a change.
Certainly. Thank you, Harpreet. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been amazing. That half an hour has become 49, 50 minutes. You will be very
Almost,
happy to
yeah.
know. You've had very good engagement. So thank you very much. We will come back again in a couple of months' time, maybe in February, once your new lot comes in and learns. And maybe this time we get a few swimmers who have learned and what it means. So that will be
Certainly,
fantastic.
certainly. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
to
you all
your
for
audience on a
joining us.
Sunday evening, and look forward to working with you all to making this big change. Thank you.
Thank you.